Hello everyone, welcome to week 2 of the weekly sewing vlog. Last week I did not get any sewing done, so this week we are starting off by working on the dress again. I am going to try to finish up putting the little bias bands on the skirt. So that is the task for today, and we will see if we accomplish that. So let's go. This would have been much easier to do had I thought of this idea before attaching the skirt to the bodice, but I did not. I thought of it after, and so now it's kind of this little battle to attach everything. So I start this just by coming up from underneath and making sure the end is sort of hidden there. And I try to keep this all like as flat as I can on the table. And then I'm just doing a little prick stitch. So that it won't really be seen from the front. And the thread that I'm using here doesn't really exactly match. I was using one which was a much closer match and then that ran out. But I am never too concerned with using matching thread. I kind of just like to go through my thread stash and see what is the closest and use that. Most of the time, it doesn't make that big of a difference, especially on something that is like a print like this. And, you know, I don't know about the 1840s, but certainly in the 18th century when I started my costume journey, they didn't really have threads that were dyed to match the fabric. So they just used white. And you can see that on the surviving original garments, like even decorative things like tacking on things like this was just done with white thread. And from far away, looking at the garment as a whole, you can't even tell. You can only tell when you look at, you know, the super up close photos. Okay, and we are done with the bias strips. I tried to make them match up at the meeting points as much as possible, but you know, in some places that just didn't work out, so hopefully it won't be too noticeable. Now the next item on our list is I want to reinforce the cartridge pleats, because right now I just have one thread, so I want to go back in the other direction just so that if something breaks, you know, the whole skirt doesn't come off, because also right now I only have it secured like at the very beginning and end of the thread, so I want to go in the other direction and also secure things a little bit more as I am going. So here is what that looks like. The double stitches, I guess, double cross, single cross, but double stitches. And I've done it all the way almost to the end. And then my thread ran out and I thought, you know what, it's such a short length, unlikely to come undone. I think I will leave it there. So now, the only thing left to do is to attach hooks and eyes to the sleeves so that I can transform from nighttime to evening, or from daytime to evening. All right, so let's try and decide what is the first bonnet we're gonna make. Here is our dress fabric. And I should probably be doing this during the day because the lighting is better during the day, but I don't feel like waiting till tomorrow. So we have option 1, evening bonnet out of the black silk. I just think that it's a little too stark looking. Also, as previously discussed, not sure when I would actually wear an evening bonnet. And just the more I sit with it and think about it, I'm not vibing. I'm just not vibing with this black. So I'm gonna go the pink route. I was very resistant to going the pink route because I've been thinking about this dress as my Jane Eyre dress. Jane Eyre is my favorite book. I've read it countless times. And Jane would definitely go for a more simple, plain, definitely not as flashy bonnet as what pink will be. But like, let's face it, even though Jane Eyre is my favorite book, I am no Jane Eyre. I like pretty things, I like frilly things, I like, yeah, basically everything that is not Jane Eyre's sense of fashion. So, oh, did you guys hear the bells? That is Poppy Seed asking to go out on the porch. Hi, are you bored? Yeah, are you bored? Are you bored, huh? Are you bored? Yeah? You gonna go hang out on the porch, even though it's dark and there's no sun for you to lay in? Yeah? 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 Okay. Okay, let's go. Okay, have fun. All right. Poppy Seed is on the porch. She's a happy camper. I'll go get her in a couple minutes. In the meantime, let's talk bonnet. What I really have to decide is between the two pinks for the main bonnet color. I really feel like this deeper pink is a better match with the fabric, especially with the color of the flowers. But there is lighter pink in the flowers too. And I don't know, a lot of the extant, or well, not extant originals, but the fashion plates do have like this much more delicate light pink. And somehow I feel like this lighter pink is a little bit more sophisticated looking, even though usually a pink like this I wouldn't think is sophisticated. I would think it's like more girlish. But I don't know. But now that I'm saying that, I'm second guessing it again, which is my problem and why I have not actually started on the bonnet yet. Because this one just matches so perfectly. I don't know, guys. Decisions must be made. Matt? Okay, whoop. Jump. 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 Matt. Get. Okay, jump. Whoop. Oh, sorry. Whoop. Jump. Couch. Down. Mat. Good girl. So I know I said that we were going to do the bonnet next, but actually I have a little side project which I need to get done, which is sewing new ribbons on my pointe shoes. So I think I mentioned that I grew up dancing ballet and I have recently gotten back into it and have been also getting back into dancing on pointe a little bit. And I am in a adult showcase at my studio, which is in about 3 weeks now. And I volunteered to dance on pointe in one of the pieces. Not sure that I'm quite ready for that yet, to be honest, but you know, I couldn't help raising my hand, so. But I have this pair of pointe shoes, which is the second pair that I've had since I started back. And for those of you who don't know, when you get pointe shoes, there's lots of things that you have to do to prepare them, but one of the things is that you have to sew in your both of your elastics and your ribbons. Now, there's a lot of new fancy ribbons out there since I used to dance in high school. It used to be that you just had satin ribbons that didn't stretch. Now you have stretchy ribbons. So I had my first pair of pointe shoes that I got, stretchy ribbons, loved them, great, wonderful invention. I got the second pair, and what I didn't realize was that the stretchy ribbons that they gave me were different stretchy ribbons this time, and they didn't stretch as much as the other ones. So I just measured them against my old ribbons, cut them, sewed them on, and then come to find out that they are not actually long enough. They're long enough for me to like wrap around my ankle once, but you're supposed to wrap them around twice. And so because I only wrap them around once, then like you can't really tuck the ends in properly like you're supposed to. So I've just been kind of out of laziness dancing with them like they are, but what I need to do is sew new ribbons on that are actually long enough. Definitely need to do that before the performance. And I have yet another type of stretchy ribbon to try out. So these ones I'll show you. These are stretchy, like, but only they basically they have this elastic section on them. So most of them are not stretchy, but then they have an elastic section, and you basically put this stretchy section like on the back of your heel. So I'm gonna try out this kind, which now looking at it, I don't have to cut. I'll have to cut it a little bit, like you just have to align this with the back of your heel. So I basically need to just figure out like how long it needs to be for this to be in the heel. And then I'll show you sort of on the inside where these get sewn in. So you can kind of see that stitching around there. And then you can't see it at all from like the outside of the shoe. But yeah, so I'm gonna take these ribbons out, put the new ribbons in, and then maybe after that we can get back to the historical stuff. So just taking this one, stretchy bit, aligning it with the back of the ankle. All right, so now yeah, it looks like I will probably cut this off a little bit here and cut the insides, but basically this gets then folded underneath and tucked away. So we'll see. I'll dance on them, see if I like them, or if I want to go back to the fully stretchy. Well, I made a little bit of progress today. So, got the hat form here, and what I've done is I made a decision on what silk to use, and that is the light pink. I just felt like it was a more sophisticated look, whereas the other pink sort of read a little bit cartoonish. I don't know. I'm concerned that this one won't look the best with my complexion, but I can always put some like decorative lace or millinery flowers on the inside, even though that wasn't as common in the 40s, but still I do have some fashion plates images that have that. So that's an option if I feel like it really doesn't look great. So yeah, I've got the bavalet cut, which is the little like frilly bit on the back. And I've got the brim and the crown. And I'm trying not to handle these too much because the silk will fray. So trying to just kind of leave them be until we need to use them. And so the next thing that I need to do is I have this little bias cut strip, and this I will take a piece of cording and make a little like piping trim, and that will go around the crown piece. So I believe the order of operations is cover the crown piece and then put the piping on, and then cover the brim, put the lining on the inside, and then put the bavalet, I believe. And so I'm going to proceed with that process, and I do have a little bit more fabric that I can make the ties out of. We'll see how much extra there is because I might do some like self-trim decoration. All of the fashion plates did sort of have more self-trim decoration rather than contrasting, especially when it was a bonnet that was as light colored pink as this one is. So probably gonna do self-trim, but I'm leaving it open. If I kind of like feel like it needs a little extra, I'll either get some millinery flowers, probably in shades of pink that are close to this, but not exact, just to get a little more visual interest. Or I can also make flowers and trimming out of the darker pink. Another option would be to make the lining out of the darker pink as well. So that way, like what is directly against my face is a little bit more flattering. So still some things to be worked out as I go through the process, but that's typically how I like to work. I almost never make decisions right from the get-go. I always start with sort of a general idea of what I'm trying to accomplish, and I start like from the structure up, and then I make decisions at key points as I go. So that's the plan. But it's 10:30 at night now, so I think I'm going to call it a night, even though all I did was decide on the fabric and cut everything out. I think that is going to be it until hopefully tomorrow. Have the crown fabric sewed on and trimmed. It was harder than I thought it was going to be. The pattern did call for an optional inner lining, like sort of a batting or felt layer underneath that would help kind of smooth the ridges out. But it also said that in the period, most bonnets were not interlined. And also I didn't have interlining to use, so we're going with non-interlined. And because of that, you can see the buckram form through the silk, but I guess that was just usual for the period. I couldn't quite get it smooth. I mean, you know, I was trying to smooth out all these little creases, but I just don't think it's gonna get all the way smooth. I mean, it's a flat piece of fabric that you're trying to curve, so you know, I think this is about as good as it's gonna get. Now the next step, I made little bias binding piping, which is really common in the 1840s. And so this gets attached right to the edge. And it's sort of like a decorative little finish for it. So part of me, okay, so you can't really tell because I've covered it up, but this is like the cap pattern piece sort of rounds over, and then here is where it actually attaches to the brim. So I think you're supposed to put the piping like right along that. But part of me is thinking like, what if I put the piping sort of up here, right on the very edge, then it would cover up all those little wrinkles. But on the other hand, if I did that, then I would need a longer brim piece, which I've already cut the brim piece, so there is that. But even if I did that, then I would end up with wrinkles on the brim piece. I think it's better to have the wrinkles like neatly tucked with the crown. So upon thinking that through, I think I'm gonna go with the way that I actually think it is intended to be done. So yeah, next step, attach piping binding. Well, I didn't get as much done tonight as I wanted to, but I'll show you what I have. So I've got the bonnet covered on the outside, pinned in place at the back, and then I'm using the little quilting clips in the front. And I have started to stitch it down to the buckram. And I've done that like right along this inside edge here. I don't know. With little whip stitches. And for some reason, when I cut this, basically I ended up with like barely enough to fold over to the inside on this edge. And so I had to go really slowly while stitching. So very slowly catching all of that. And then once I was done, I used fray check and dabbed that all along the edge. So hopefully that will prevent it from fraying until I can get the lining put in. And the lining is just gonna have to go really close to the edge, right on that corner. It is what it is. Hopefully it won't look too terrible. And also maybe it'll be covered up by the end of the ribbon that ties the bonnet on. So, and I'm hoping that the rest of this whip stitching will go much faster because I won't have to do tiny stitches quite as tight together as I had to there to make sure I got like all of those, you know, super fray edges put down. So that's the plan, but it is almost 11 o'clock at night, so, and I've got to work tomorrow, so I'm gonna end here for now. I'll let that fray check dry. I'm gonna put the bonnet like this while it dries so that the fray check doesn't seep through to the outside because I don't want you to be able to see it. Yeah, so I think we are at a good stopping point for tonight. It is Thursday. I can't believe, I don't know where the week went. I am almost done with the outer covering of the bonnet. I wanted to get it all done. I've been sort of sewing on it like in between meetings and stuff at work. But I'm not quite there yet, so that will have to be for next week. But let me show you what we've done and where we are ending the week. This is the view from the back of the bonnet. I've basically got that area with the 3 pins left to sew. So the crown is covered. It's got the piping laid down, and then the rest of it is covered. And I'm pretty happy with it. It's pretty like smooth, I would say, through most of it. I had a little bit of trouble getting it exactly smooth around the corner here. This other side is much better, but I just couldn't get this to lay flat. So, you know, hopefully it won't be that noticeable once the ruffled like bavalet thing gets added, and once, you know, all the trimmings are on, who knows, maybe there might even just be flowers covering that area. So yeah, this has taken a lot of work stitching all this on, very time consuming. So bonnets are not for the weak. So that is it for this week. Thanks for watching. Next week, we will continue with the bonnet. I'm hoping that all the trimmings and stuff, the materials for those should arrive soon. So hopefully they will come in time for me to work on that. And then, I don't know, if they don't come in yet, then we might start like a little side project. I've got a 1910s pattern that I want to make, but we'll see. We'll just see like what we have time for. I think the bonnet is the priority. So, till next time.